Rock stars, Eric Andres, your Guitar Sage here. Welcome to the Guitar Show. It's October the 12th, and today, friends, we're going to delve into 108 scales hidden inside of the major scale. Yeah, I said it right. 108 scales. You, today, will be able to play 108 scales when we're done here. Not that anybody would need to ever play that many scales. I've known these scales my whole life. In fact, I know a lot more than that. But realistically, there's only a couple that I use all the time, 2 or 3 that I use all the time. You're going to find the same thing, okay? So I'm probably going to teach this from the perspective of how you're actually going to use it. But man, people are obsessed with learning scales that they're absolutely never going to learn, or they're never going to use. But okay, so I will humor you there, but I can promise you there's really only a couple that you're going to use all the time. That being said, we're going to learn this, okay? So my questions for you, friends: how would you like to know 108 scales today that you will easily learn? Would you like to be able to play and improvise in any key, in any genre? Meaning, you know, if it's blues, or if it's rock, or if it's jazz, that sort of thing. And have you ever wanted to know all the jazz modes? If you answered yes to any of these, friends, then you've come to the right place, because I'm going to be showing you all this, okay? Now, a couple things really quickly. I have a PDF for you. So if you're on that page already, great. If you're watching on YouTube, you need the PDF, most likely. If you don't have it, then you're going to be like, I'm lost, okay? So don't be lost. Click the link that's below the video. That'll take you to a page where you can download the PDF. I made that for you. It's absolutely free. On that same page, I'm going to tell you about this. We have Dominate the Fretboard. We've got this course for you for free for test driving the Unstoppable Guitar System. Now, I know for our folks that are in the Unstoppable Guitar System, they're like, wait a minute, we don't get that? Yes, you get that. But for those folks who try out the Unstoppable Guitar System for $1, you get 30 days to try the whole enchilada out, 1,000 videos, over 1,000 videos, over 600 jam tracks, visual jam tracks, live interactive broadcasts with me like this, but in a much smaller setting, where it's just the folks inside the course. Get your questions answered in real time. We do 3 of those per month. You get that for that $1. A ton of other things, okay? Access to me by email every single day. If you're in UGS, give a shout out in the chat and let folks know we're not playing around here. This is very serious. We have over 500,000 students at this point, okay? So there's a reason why that is because it works, and the word on the street is get over in the Unstoppable Guitar System. It works. But I know folks, especially in today's world, you don't trust a lot. And guess what? Good for you. If you're one of those people that don't trust a lot right now, good for you. Keep your head on a swivel, and I gotcha. And because of that, I want you to feel safe. And here's the deal. You get to test drive the whole thing for $1. That's basically you get in, you get to try it all out, and you're only risking $1. That being said, in addition to that, I'm going to give you the whole Dominate the Fretboard course. I'm just going to give it to you. So let's say you test drive the thing for 30 days. You only got 30 days to try it out. Only. That's a long time. Someone said, Eric, you get to drive a Tesla for 30 days. I'd be like, yes, and I'd probably buy it. But nonetheless, you get to try it out for 30 days, and you get to keep that whole course, Dominate the Fretboard. Okay, that's at that same link that's right below. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll take you to that page where the PDF is and the offer. Okay? Lastly, if you'd like to buy us a coffee, pinned to the very top of the page, you'll see a little buy me a coffee bit there. And yeah, go pro, go home, what Rob is saying. So if you see people saying go pro, that means that they've gone Unstoppable Guitar System Pro. Okay? Awesome? Yeah. All right. Let's get into this, friends. Here we go. The major scale. Now, let's do this. If you're watching along with me in that PDF, you should be, okay? Because I told you to download it. Do that. Download it right now, and we're going to go over this together. People say, Eric, I don't have the time to learn 108 scales. Guess what, friend? I don't either. I got stuff to do. I don't have time to do all that. So what I like to do is I like to figure out the whys of things, because if you know the whys of things, everything, you can see how things are put together. If you don't, you're always needing that next nugget of information. So what I try to do with all my students, my one-on-one students or my online students, is I try to make you as independent as possible, okay? As independent as possible, because ultimately you don't need a teacher, but a good teacher will help you get to a certain point. And at a certain point, you might outgrow them, and hopefully that's the case. I would love all my students to outgrow me. That would mean I'm doing my daggone job, okay? So let's talk about 108 scales. This is how I want you to think about this, okay? From the major scale, the one that sounds like this. You've heard that before, right? You could play it up several octaves. Okay, that is the major scale, and that major scale, inside of that, contains all of the jazz modes: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, aeolian, Locrian, and Ionian. Ionian is also known as the major scale, and the aeolian is also known as the natural minor scale. So you have the major and the minor. By different names, you have the Ionian and the Locrian, right? So that's 4. And then you have the other 5, scales. Plus you have major and minor pentatonic. That's 11 times 12. That's way more than 108. But let's call the Ionian scale the major scale, and let's call the aeolian the natural minor. These are only names. Don't freak out about them. Okay. Then we have whatever that is, 9. 9 times 12, because there's 12 different keys, we get 108 scales. So let's start from the easiest part first. If I have a scale, right, you know this because you're in the Unstoppable Guitar System or you followed my other videos. If you know any riff, chord, or scale, we know that we can take that scale and just move it up a step, half step in this case, and we would have a whole nother major scale. This is G major. If we take that scale and we bump it up, now we have G sharp major, and so on and so forth. This would be A. Now, if you notice, my fingering is not changing. Same fingering. But this allows me to play all 12 keys. So let's do the easiest part first. When you do this, you can literally take the 9 forms that we're going to learn today, okay, the 9 forms that we're going to learn today, multiplied times 12 will give you 108 scales. And again, the scales that you're going to be learning are all the jazz modes, which you're never going to use, most likely. Rarely ever going to use them. I will use them every now and then, and when I do, I don't think that it's a mode. I just say, oh, I'm just flattening that note because that note in that chord is flatted. Or I'm going to sharpen that one note because that note is sharp. When you think modes, it's not going to yield what you think it's going to yield. Okay? That's why a lot of players don't actually think about modes. Even jazz players, they think about what chord is being played, and let me match what I'm playing to that chord. It may be a mode, but it's a lot of extra thinking. Okay? All right, let's get into this. So first thing that we need to learn is we need to learn the major scale. We need to learn it both across one string, and then we need to learn it across several strings because it's very helpful that way. So according to the PDF that I've created for you here, diatonic harmony, okay? If you notice on that very first page after the cover page, we have something called a half step. Half step is the distance between one fret and the next, and a whole step is equal to 2 halves. So from here to here is a half step, and from here to here is a whole step, okay? So half step, whole step. Gotcha? Okay, got me? Here we go. So any note that we start at, let's start at this note. We don't even have to know the name of this note to play the major scale. Watch. Because I have the form memorized. I could also do it from here. And I don't even have to know that that note is an F to know that I played an F major scale, okay? I just know it's that major scale. It starts on this note, I follow a certain pattern, and then we get the major scale. This is the pattern. Here's whatever note this is, it's an F, but it doesn't matter. Now, I follow this pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, right? So whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And I get my F major scale. So many different ways we can play a scale. It's the same notes though, right? Now if I take that note and I bump it up a half step, I can do the same thing. Oh, sorry. So many different ways that we can play. G major. Okay, and I'm showing you these different forms because we're going someplace with that in a minute, okay? So just know that you gotta know what that formula is, and it goes, we start on the note and we say whole step. You don't say whole step until you move. So whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Easy enough. If you don't have that memorized, that's the basic of everything that we're going to be doing. You got to do that first, okay? Or just trust me, come back to it later, but you do have to know that, okay? Now, I also give you on the next page, I go into a description about the major scale. This is the PDF that I'm giving you guys, friends. At the bottom of in the description of the YouTube link, you're going to see it there, or if you're on that page already, you'll see it. It says, download the PDF. So I tell you all about the major scale. And then I give you a few different forms. I give you the 6th string root. I give you the 5th string root major scale. So you can take this form, which I give you. I'm not gonna show it to you right now in detail, but this is literally in the PDF that I'm showing you. So you take this form, and you can move it up and down the fretboard, okay? You can also start it off on the 6th or the 5th string. To play all keys very easily, okay? Know that, learn it, and memorize it, okay? You can also play the 2-octave version that I give you. I also give you the single string major scale. It's important to be able to do both of these, okay? All right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and clear up a little bit of I said I was going to do this in the easiest fashion, but we're talking about major scale right now. So let me go into the modes real quick. Now, disclaimer. Again, friends, you're not going to be using these as modes per se. It's good to know the different forms, but the only mode that I hear people using often is the mixolydian. That's because it's just like the major scale, except it has a flatted 7th, and that works well with a 7th chord, which has a flatted 7th in it, okay? That's about the only mode, but usually people aren't even playing it that way. They're playing like a pentatonic scale, which we're gonna get to in a minute. So that being said, I'm gonna show you where we get the jazz modes from, but you ain't gonna use them. Okay, here we go. If we play in this case, a G major scale. If we play it from 1 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If we play it from 1 to 1, it's the G major scale, also known as the aeolian mode. Okay, big deal. It's got a fancy name. Big deal. Don't let it scare you, okay? Now, if we play that same scale from 2 to 2, so here I am starting on my pinky, so we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Well, that sounds kind of minor. Well, it is, because it's a type of minor scale known as the Dorian. We could play it like that, or we could, instead of starting on our pinky, we could put our first finger there and go. Okay, I don't have all these forms for you. They're inside the Unstoppable Guitar System, but they're not in the PDF. They would be way too long. So that's the Dorian. And we could follow this same pattern. Go from 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, 5 to 5. We could go right down the scale and play it from the beginning note to the end note, and then start on 2 and play to 2, and play from 3 to 3. And each single time that we do this, we get a mode. So, and the modes go like this: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, aeolian, also known as the natural minor scale or the minor scale, and Locrian, the 7th scale degree, okay? So literally, if you play the scale from 1 to 1, we have G major Ionian, or G major. We play it from 2 to 2, we have, from the 2nd scale degree that is, then we have the A Dorian. And then we can keep going. Whatever note we start off, it's the name of that mode. Okay, so in this case here, it's a B Phrygian. We can play double, or 2 octaves. Okay, Lydian, Mixolydian, aeolian, but I'll play it in the open position instead of the 12th fret. Okay, and then last is Locrian. Okay, there you go. So now, here's the deal. Realistically, if we have a G major chord progression happening, and we went through all those different modes, realistically, we're really just playing in the key of G major, because none of those notes that I played, even though I was playing all over the neck, none of those notes that I played fell outside of the G major scale. The whole step, half, whole, half, right? None of them fell outside of that. The notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then back to G. So there's 7 notes. I'm just playing them in different parts of the neck. So I'm playing 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, 5 to 5, 6 to 6, 7 to 7, and 1 to 1. Okay, so now, so technically, if a G major chord progression is happening in the background, I could play all those modes, those crazy fancy jazz modes, but realistically, since I did not play any notes outside of the G major scale, I'm just playing on a different part of the neck. That's all I'm doing. Just playing a different part of the neck. Okay? So how could I make that an actual mode then? Okay? So let's get this straight too. We're talking about forms, okay? People mix up what form and what form and what mode mean, or scale, okay? A form is just kind of like how you form the actual scale, okay? How you form, the formation of it, okay? But depending on what's happening in the music in the background determines whether it's a mode or it's just a major scale. So again, if I play A Dorian, if I play that over G major, any number of notes that are in those different modes, it's really just G major. So, in order for us to play an actual mode, what we would have to do is we'd have to take that form, we'd have to move it, it would have to make sense according to what's happening in the background. So, for instance, if we have G major, I could play the mixolydian, right, which is the fifth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so. So I could go, so I'm going to move that down here where G is my tonic. Or sorry, that note's in the chord. Now I'm playing mixolydian against that chord. Now technically it's a mode, okay? Now, all that being said, you ain't gonna use them, okay? You're just not gonna use them very often, okay? That is, or at least I should say this, maybe you will, but I'm just saying, I've played thousands of songs, I've taught thousands of students, I've been playing for, I guess, coming up on 40 years, I've been in dozens of bands, I've been in the studio hundreds of times. Miraculously, I have not played, I've hardly ever played a mode, okay? So either I'm just a weirdo, or that's kind of, you just don't play them that often, okay? And again, even jazz players, a lot of them don't think modes, they think what's the chord, and they play according to that chord, just like I did. I said, the G7, but I would probably play, I'd probably play something pentatonic or bluesy over the top of it, but still with that flatted seventh in there, okay? Now, we could take all 7 of those and we can move them in all the different keys, and now we've got, what's that, 70, 84. 84 of our 108 scales, okay? Now, let's talk about the other 2. These are the ones that you're going to use a lot. Now, no joke, I use major or aeolian all the time. It's just a different name, right? Arose by a different name or whatever that expression is. Someone calls you by your first name or last name, you'll answer to either, right? So aeolian is just a name of the major scale they call it as a Greek mode, okay? And the aeolian is natural minor, also known as minor, and that's the 6th scale degree, and you will use that one a ton, okay? So I use major all the time, and I use minor all the time. I use those 2 just constantly. And with the band, with the bowl, it's literally the minor scale all day long, because all the songs are like in a minor key. I think they're all in a minor key. Maybe we have one in a major key, I think. Or I'll use minor pentatonic or major pentatonic, usually minor pentatonic. We're going to talk about the pentatonics in a minute. Now, let's talk about relative major and minor in just 1 second. For folks that are just tuning in, friends, really quickly, we're talking about 108 scales hidden inside the major scale. A lot of them you're not going to end up using, but the ones that I'm going to point out to you, major, minor, and minor pentatonic, I use 99.999% of the time in my playing, okay? I throw in the blue note every now and then for some blues, but that's it. Okay, so we're going to concentrate on those, but I promised you 108, so I needed to show you the modes. Now, really quickly, if you've just joined us, we have a PDF for you. Click the link below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on that page already, then just look on the video. Right underneath the video says download the PDF. And then we also have that offer for you today. You get to test drive the entire Unstoppable guitar system for $1. If you don't like what you see after 29, 30 days, get out. It only costs $1. But in addition to you getting to test drive this amazing course that, again, we've had over 500,000 people go through our courses, okay? And even if you do get out, that's okay. My feelings are not hurt. It's a big, big world, okay? I'm also going to give you Dominate the Fretboard, which is, I believe, 8 of my top hacks on how to navigate the fretboard. It took me years, decades, to actually to really integrate these. It'll take you 1 hour to integrate these, because the way that I set it up I set you up for success, okay? So literally, if you take advantage of that, click the link below that YouTube video to bring you to the page where you can get in that $1 offer and you'll get Dominate the Fretboard. And you get to keep that forever, even if you leave the Unstoppable Guitar System. It's my gift to you, okay? Cool. And lastly, at the top pinned is the Buy Us a Coffee link. Since the new studio is not near the burrito place anymore, Mike, it's sad. It's really sad. That's a negative to where we are. We're in an industrial park now, and there's not a lot of food here. So we're very hungry. But we do need coffee, okay? So feel free to donate to the coffee fund. Okay, let's talk about relative major and minor really quickly, because this is an important concept. Then I'm going to talk to you about pentatonics, and then I'm going to take your questions, okay? So relative major and minor. By the way, this is in the document that I'm giving you, the PDF. So you got to read this stuff, folks. I don't give this stuff to you for no reason. I don't write it for no reason. I don't create videos on this stuff for no reason. It's the important stuff, okay? Okay, think about this. The yin and the yang, right? Think about the drama symbol, right? Of the sad face and the laughing face, right? The comedy and the drama or something like that, right? Acting. So there's this dualistic thing that happens in the universe, right? And it's no different with music. So music has a major feel and it has a minor feel. And 99.999% of the time, that's what you're feeling. You're not feeling a modal feel, okay? It just doesn't happen, hardly ever, so infrequently that we might as well never mention it, and I wish it just doesn't happen very frequently, okay? The only people that are obsessed with this are, I won't get into it, but you're just not gonna run into it, okay? Trust me. So really you have major and you have minor. Okay, major and minor. And major has that bright type of sound. Right, that's major sounding. Minor sounding would be like, very sobering sounding, right? Very sad, kind of slows your heartbeat down a little maybe. Okay, so we have this kind of either side of the coin. Now here's the funny thing is, I just played those in the same key. So none of the notes that I played in the first one varied from the notes that I played in the second one. The set of notes, G, A, B, C, D, F sharp, and G. So I played in G, the first bit with the chords with the C and G, the C and the D and the G chords. And none of those notes fell outside of our G major set of notes. When I played that other bit where I'm finger picking there in the key of E minor, the key of E minor is the reciprocal of G major. It is the related minor. So what we mean by related major and minor is for every major key, there's a related minor key. For every minor key, there's a related major key. I did say every major key, there's a related minor. For every minor key, there's a related major. And it just means that they share the same sets of notes. They just share the same sets of notes. Well, what makes them different, Eric? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Well, think about this. Have you ever woken up in the morning and been in a great mood? I know I have. It's like every morning, just about every morning. And there's been also days where I woke up a little bit pissy, right? Here's the deal. Same dude, but kind of a different outlook on life, right? You can be negative or you could be positive. You can think about it as the same way. It's like it's the same person, but in this case here, we're talking about the same notes, but how are those notes coming across? And when we're emphasizing the 6 of the scale, which is the tonal center for minor, when we're emphasizing that, when we're playing that a lot, when we start our phrases on those notes, just like I did here, I'm already starting off in setting the scene as minor. Okay, playing in the key of E minor or G major, but technically we're really leaning towards that, the minor sound, okay? So, and in this document here, you're going to see that I have all of the major, minor, their equivalents figured out for you. A really quick way to do it, though, is whatever major key you're in. Let's say you're on G. If you want to find the related minor, you go down 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3, and there it's E minor. If you're in the key of if you're in the key of C, you go down 3 half steps. Boom, boom, boom. A minor is your key. If you're in the key of D, you go down 3 half steps. It's B minor. And if you want to do the opposite, you just go 3 up. So if you're in the key of B minor, you're going to go up 3. Right? So you're going to go 1, 2, 3. If you're in the key of A minor, you're going to go up 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3 to the key of C major, related major minor. If you're in the key of E minor, you'd go up 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3 to the key of G major. Okay? Pink Floyd uses this concept a lot, actually, right? So like in Comfortably Numb, right there in the key of D major, but then second solo is in B minor. Okay, same chords, friends, but we're leaning towards a tonality, okay? Now, why did I go into all that? Because literally understanding that and understanding what the pentatonic scale is will allow you to do all of this improvisation and playing like I said that you could, okay? It doesn't mean you're going to be Eric Clapton right out of the gate, okay? It doesn't mean you're going to be Eric Clapton, but you'll have the tools just like Eric did, and he developed them just like you will have to in order to be that good, okay? No one gets a free ride here in music. Everybody's got to work hard if you want to be good. Mediocrity is also an option if you want to be that, okay? So here's the deal. So pentatonic. Penta meaning 5, tonic meaning notes. So it's a 5-note scale. And when we talk about the pentatonic scale, we're basically leaving out the 4 and the 7, I believe. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. We're leaving out the 4, playing the 5, 6. We're playing the 6. We're leaving out the 7. So we're leaving out the 4 and the 7. Okay, watch this. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's G major scale, also known as G aeolian. But if we leave out the 4 and the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, we're going to leave out those 2 guys. Okay, watch this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. Okay. It's just a very stable sounding scale. That's the pentatonic. Now, we could take that same scale and we could play it against an E minor. Or G major. And so it works either way, okay? And that's where related major and minor come in and are very important, because you literally could take any chord progression that you're hearing on anything. If it's in a major key, you would use the major pentatonic. So if it's in the key of G major, you're going to use that major pentatonics. If it were in the key of G minor, then we would use the G minor pentatonic. Or also known as, right, if we have if we know this is minor, we know 3 half steps up would be major. So we could either play the G minor pentatonic, or we could play the B flat major pentatonic. Okay, it's all in there, okay? Now, I know that I've thrown a lot at you. I really want to get to your questions here because I know you have them. And I throw a lot out there at you because I know some folks are hanging with me, some folks are not, it's over their head, but that's okay because guess what? The only reason it's over your head is because you haven't studied the other stuff yet, and that's why I give you the PDF. So do not fear. Don't think, oh, I'm stupid, I can never get this stuff, whatever accent you got there. Don't think that because it's just not true, okay? It's just literally, I mean, that would be like a fourth grader getting upset because he doesn't know the thing the fifth grader's doing, or the sixth grader, or the senior in high school. One step at a time. Why would you beat yourself up? I don't know Mandarin. I see these little 4-year-old Chinese kids speaking Mandarin like, I mean, what am I, an idiot? No, I've never studied it, so why would I be good at it, right? So same thing with you, just understand it's literally just steps, okay? That's why also I'm giving you the offer today here where you guys can get in the Unstoppable Guitar System and try that out because it's going to help you a ton, okay? All right, let's get to some questions, all right? Here we go. Uh-oh. Someone's been naughty in the chat, looks like. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Let's dig in. Tim's crying right now. He's like, why do I get kicked out of everything? I don't understand.
Tim will never be heard from again.
Bye, Tim. Oh, Tim. Troll, Tim the troll. Okay, here we go. Hello, Richard, Randy. Hello, friends. Linda. Okay, I'm going to get to some questions here real quick, so I'm going to just jump to them, okay? If you would, question mark after the question. That will be helpful to me. All right, here we go. Scanning. YT sucks at telling me when someone is live. Yeah, that's why you always have to set a reminder. This is why I send these out a day ahead of time, guys. Technology is always changing, right? And I'm with you, my knees. You've got to set a reminder because yes, YouTube, because Google. Okay, not quite as shiny and new as they were back in the day, are they? No. Disappointing. Okay. Didn't get my reminder, no. If I was talking about political things, you might, though. Scales are shapes, not positions. Forms you can use to walk up and down there. When I realized that, it made more sense. Yes, you're right, Tracy, yeah. Okay. Here we go. I just pulled the trigger on the new Player Plus Strat. Has Bel Air Blue. Anyone have thoughts on this new? Oh, nice. Nice, friend. Good. Exciting. All right. Okay, sir, what is the best way to practice arpeggios and scales in finger picking? Sonata's saying, okay, what I would do, and this is how I want you to think about this, friends, is break things up. So how do you practice arpeggios and scales in finger picking? Here's exactly how you practice that. Don't practice them all at the same time. The juggling unicyclist on a tightrope did not go, I think I'm gonna go for this one day, and get on a unicycle and get on a wire while he's juggling cats. Never has happened in the history of ever. You learn one thing, and you get really good at that. And then you move your mind over to something else and you get really good at that thing. And then you move over to something else, you get really good at that. And at that point, you can start bringing things together because we have a conscious mind, we've got a subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind can think, or your conscious mind can only think of one thing at a time. People that think they're multitasking aren't really multitasking. Your brain can only focus on one thing at a time, okay? Or I should say your conscious mind can only do that. That's the one that's talking to you in the camera right now. If I play guitar, while I'm talking to you, then what's happening is my conscious mind is talking to you right now, but my subconscious mind is playing the guitar because I've played this riff a million times, okay? So in the same way, what we can do is consciously drive things into our subconscious by doing it over and over and over and over and over again to build neural paths, and then they can be by themselves and do their thing. So Sanut, if you want to get good at practicing those things, practice arpeggios separately, practice scales separately, practice finger picking separately. And then when you get so good at those things separately, then you can start bringing them together, okay? Okay, good question. Sage, Texas is saying, so E minor does not mean E flat, correct? It's just starting G major, half step down, E. Okay, so let's, yes, so when we talk about a flat, we're talking about a note. Okay, we're talking about a note. Even if we say a flat 7 chord, we're talking about the note being flatted and then play that specific chord there, okay? So flat is when we take a note and we lower it. Sharp is when we raise a note. Okay, think about flattening a balloon down, and think about sharp as maybe like bringing you know, it becomes sharp at the top, like a mountain, a peak. Okay, so think about that. So when we're talking about flatting or sharping, we're talking about notes. When we're talking about minor, we're talking about the quality of a chord or a scale, usually. You can think about it like flavor, like a dark chocolate or a milk chocolate. Sorry. Dark chocolate is my preference of chocolates. And so you can think about it like that being that particular flavor. Maybe you have a orange flavored chocolate. It's like it's the flavor of that chord. Now that chord flavor comes from the math that goes to make up that chord. So for instance, if we're talking about an E minor chord, we're talking about the notes E, B, and G. E, B, and G, okay? When we're talking about a G major chord, we're talking about a G, a B, and a D. So there are different notes that make that up. Now, the actual letter names of the notes are important, but understanding their relationship to each other, again, relative major and minor, we're talking about, and music's all about relationship. If you understand the relationship from one note to the next, like, well, how far away is it? The formula for a chord. That's what I mean by relationship, as opposed to just knowing the notes. The notes don't really mean anything. It'd be like if we were in the Army and we were calling everybody by their last name and we weren't saying colonel or captain or whatever title they have. That's pretty important, right? You'd be mouthing off to somebody with a similar last name, but they may be highly ranked and you're not. So it's important in this case here to understand what the rank or to understand what the formula is, okay? And so a major chord is when we take the 1, the 3, and the 5 from that particular scale. So if my scale goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then if I take the 1, skip over the 2 and play the 3, skip over the 4 and play the 5, and I play those 3 notes together, well, we need to move that D down to the D string, and then we get a G major chord. And if we finish it out, we've got other G's and B's and D's, okay? Now, if I want to make that minor, then I would go a 1 flat 3, 5. So here's a 1, here's our 3, we need to flatten that. And the 5 is going to be the same, which is that open D string. So instead of this, here's our major, 1, 1, 3, 5. So in this case here, I need to go 1 flat 3, 1 flat 3, 5. And that's our G major chord. And technically, I could play it. Okay, and that is the flavor of that because of the formula. Cool? All right, all right. Yeah, learn all 5 positions of the pentatonic, which I give you today. They're in the PDF, the link below this video. It is a never-ending rabbit hole. And just remember, when you're playing all these different forms, you're playing the same 5 notes when we're talking about the pentatonic scale. So someone might say, well, why not just learn the one form? That's a great idea. Learn the one form and get really good at it. And when you get bored with that, then you have 4 other forms to work with. But what happens is when you're dealing with these different forms, it mixes up where the notes are. It mixes up where the tonic is, or the key center, and it mixes up where all the other notes are. So what happens is that you have all these opportunities to create new licks. So that's why us guitar players don't just use one form. We like to play with different forms on the fretboard because it allows a whole world of other licks to come out. Cool? All right. Thank you, Dwight. 129 watching and only 49 thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. Yes, please do. Okay? Please hit that up. Is it, whoa, what happened to my screen here? Is it advisable to put 9s on an acoustic? No, I think what you will find is that the guitar is not intonated correctly. Okay? It's also just going to be a thinner sound. So I would not do that. Intonation will typically be wonky. Tuning will typically be wonky, and they're just too slinky sounding. That being said, if it works for you and you like it and everything is fine, then good. But the reasons that I told you why, that's the reasons why I would not. But there's still an E major chord, right? Just with a different relative minor. I'm not sure what the question is there. There is an E major chord. Yeah, it's just called an E chord. We could call it an E major. Just with a different related minor, a C sharp. Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. Exactly. And remember that you know, we have this whole related major minor thing happening, but when it comes to chords, we usually aren't like an E chord's an E chord. A C sharp minor is a C sharp minor. Like usually when we're talking related major and minor, we're not talking about chords. We can. In fact, for every major chord there is, if you go 3 half steps down, there's a related minor chord. And for every minor chord, if you go 3 half steps up, there's a related major. That's how the 3 majors and 3 minors within that construct the diatonic chords, or the chords derived from the major scale. That's how we come up with those. Okay, so you can do that. Usually when we're talking about relative major and minor, we're talking about keys or tonal centers. Okay. So then, what mode does Santana generally play in with his solos? Okay, Kevin, that's a great question. So Santana will use the Dorian. I think he uses the Dorian a lot, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has a raised 6th scale degree. So it's so I've used that as well. Every now and then, you know, that 0.00001% bit, that whole thing that's how often I use that scale. Now Santana, he makes a thing of it, and I'm pretty sure it's Dorian that he's using, because Phrygian. Okay, so Yngwie Malmsteen uses Phrygian a lot, and it sounds to me very diminished. But Dorian is going to be, so Phrygian's also a minor scale, minor because of we won't go into all that. Santana uses Dorian sometimes. He's also using blues. He's also using minor. Does he use harmonic minor? I'm not sure, but that's for another lesson. Okay. But again, you know, you could look at it as that he's playing modally, or you could just be like he's raising the 6th scale degree because it's got that cool sound. Have you perfected the use of all scales? Nope. Or have you mastered the major ones like pentatonic, major, and minor? So I wouldn't say I've mastered or perfected anything, but I'm familiar with those, and I've used them a lot, thousands of times over the years. So whatever master means to one person might mean something different to somebody else. So I don't like to use those words, but I get where your question's going. Have you perfected the use of all scales? No, because there's probably an almost infinite number of scales. Obviously, it's not infinite because there's only 12 notes, but I know there's some mathematician here who can immediately tell us, because there's some sort of like 12 times 12 times 12. I think you multiply 12 times itself 12 times, I don't know. And to find out whatever that number is, and there's so many different combinations that you can create with these 12 notes, right? That being said, no. Why learn all those other things when you've got nothing to show for it? Like, I don't care. I'm not going to go see a guitar player in concert because he knows scales. I'm going to play because I'm going to go because he or she can evoke emotions in me by playing really well, and that may be just the pentatonic scale. Okay, any quick tips on how to figure out a simple guitar solo in a song? Kevin, yes, I've got videos for this. You need to understand, you need to play the hum and hunt game, okay? It's in the beginner section of UGS, which I'm giving to you guys for $1 today, 30-day test drive. You have to learn how to hear one note and be able to find it on the neck, and I show you that. I've got videos for that on YouTube. Search YourGuitarSage ear, and I'll guide you through that, okay? Besides standard tuning, what other tunings do you suggest playing? So I haven't found that I really like alternate tuning. Sometimes I'll play in drop D, because especially if it's a song that's in D minor or D major, that use of that low D is really cool, especially for some Van Halen. Let's see, and it just gives a great sound. Everlong by the Foo Fighters is in drop D. It's where you take that E string, that low E string, and just drop it down a whole step, okay? I use that one a bit. I also will detune my guitar a half step, sometimes a whole step for certain things. Those are the ones I use a lot. I don't use many others. Oh, I will do like an open E tuning for slide, okay? Antonio L. de UK is saying, my question, blues music uses the blues scale, which is pentatonic plus the blue note. Is there any other style of music closely related to any other scale or mode? That's a great question. I would say, sure, yeah, definitely. Like bluegrass is major. Oftentimes it's major. Country music is oftentimes major. Yeah, blues is usually the pentatonic and or the blues scale. Flamenco music is very harmonic minor, which is the minor scale with the raised 7th scale degree. If we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So harmonic minor would go. Okay, the band that I'm in, Gabriel the Bull, we use that all the time, like a lot, okay? And it sounds really cool. I love that sound, actually, okay? Jason, you're right. Caged, scales, diatonic, pentatonic, triads, arpeggios, they're all linked together. It's like layers. It really, really is. I remember going into the guitar shop as a kid. These guys worked there, were throwing around mode names, I guess to impress each other. That's usually what it's for, yes, and to make me feel bad for not knowing what they were saying. Friends, here's the deal. When people talk like that, they're always covering something up, okay? It's not to say that you can't say, hey, someone's saying, what mode are you using? Oh, I'm using the Dorian mode there. But you know when it's coming across as egoic, and I cannot stand musicians who do that. It shows a lack of, they're covering something up, and it's usually lack of talent. Not saying that you can't be a great player or a great whatever and have an ego, but it just ruins it for me. I don't like when musicians act like that. Man, share the love. Show that kid how to play, you know? Ridiculous. Dark chocolate is the best friend. What is the flat in C flat major? What is the flat in C flat? Well, C flat. C flat is major. But I never think about things like this. I have to sit here and analyze it. So if you talk about C flat, well, C flat is B major, okay? but you would, C flat would be the flat, okay? So D would be flat. E would be flat. I'm sorry. Let's see, again, I have no use for this, but let's have some fun here. So if you're talking about the key of C flat, you're talking about B major, right? But let's call it C flat. Let's go along. Let's play the game. So here we go. C flat, right? We have D flat. We have E flat. We have F flat, also known as an E. All right? And we could go on. In essence here, we could call that G flat. I mean, they're probably all flat, Francois, would be my guess. Playing a little trick there on the Sage. Yeah, there, a lot of them were, at least the notes that I just mentioned were. And here, is it B or C flat? And confusing. So, yeah, we could get into the reasons why you might call it C flat, but I wouldn't know any off the top of my head. I know sometimes when it comes to orchestration, and sometimes orchestration and transcribing, there sometimes is a reason to do that, okay? Not specifically C flat major, but putting things in a key where you're like, why would you do that? There are some reasons that I won't get into because I just don't, my brain doesn't think like that. My brain thinks like, let's simplify things, not make things more complicated. And to me, that's just more complicated. I get the theory and all, but I have never been able to bring it to the guitar and cannot solo for my life. You can if you apply it, okay? Otherwise, you're talking about a world where things don't grow. You're talking about a world where your brain doesn't learn. You're talking about a world where if you practice, you don't get better. And I don't know of such a world. I've never heard of that. So you definitely can get better, but obviously you just haven't done enough, okay? And that is a phrase that's very unpopular these days. Everybody wants to be like, oh, you're okay, you're gonna make it, you don't have to do anything. No, you gotta effing work is what you gotta do, right? Not picking on you, my friend, I'm just saying like that general attitude of not having to work, or it's gotta be hard. Yeah, it's hard. If you want something good, it's gonna be hard, right? How can I learn, how can I start learning vibrato? I've got lessons for it, Lyrics Chief. Search YourGuitarSage vibrato, and I'll go into all the details with you, okay? Okay. It took me a year to learn the notes on the fretboard. It takes time. Absolutely, it does, yeah. Okay, so Juan, instead of playing rhythm guitar, focus on lead guitar for a bit. Watch my courses. Watch Minimalistic Blues. That'll help you a ton. Watch the Minimalistic Blues. Juan, for $1, get in the Unstoppable Guitar System. Cancel after 28, 29 days, okay? Give us a chance to get you out of there so your credit card isn't charged. Take advantage of the course that I'm giving you for free, Dominate the Fretboard. Check out Minimalistic Blues. You'll have that for 30 days. And if at the end you're like, I don't want to do this any longer, then get out. It's totally cool. You get to keep the course, okay? But I promise you that Minimalistic Blues will absolutely change your mind on how to play lead guitar, okay? I promise you. In fact, if anybody has been in the Minimalistic Blues, write that for Juan in the chat here so he knows I'm not playing around. It's for real. It's amazing, okay? All right, sweet. We're almost at the end, my friends. Santana, Dorian, okay, I guessed right. All right, good, good. Yep, Dorian as far as I know, yeah. Okay, so as long as the chords match the key you're playing, you are in the same scale, right? Yeah, I'm not sure how you're asking that, but so if the chords, right, so we're in the key of, say, G major, and G major would have chords like G major, C major, D major, E minor, A minor, B minor. Like we have those chords, then those are all pointing towards the key of G major. So if you played the G major scale over that, then yes, you would be all in the same key. You would, yeah, the chords would match the key, okay? I think you just said it a little bit funky, but I think I know where you're going. When the root of your song is minor and it's a 4-chord and it's 4 chords, is major, that's Dorian, right? When the root chord of your song is minor and it's 4-chord, is major the Dorian? Okay. Whew, that's opening up something that I don't want to open up this late in the game. Let's do this. So technically what you're saying is correct, because if, let's say we were in E minor, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And that would be a tonal center. And if we were in the key of G major, that's a 1. This is 7, this is 6, 6, 7, 1, 2. So it's 4 away. So the part that I wanted to say here, Jeff, that would take me a while to explain is that usually it makes it easier if you just think about the major as the tonal center, even though technically it's not. Sometimes, in the case of a minor chord, or I'm sorry, a minor song, the tonal center is the 6. But it makes it so much easier to think about everything as being the tonal center of the 1, because you don't have to relearn things twice, okay? You're just gonna have to trust me on that, because I don't have the time to get into more of that right now, okay? Get inside UGS. It's going to clear up a ton of stuff for you, okay? Russ is saying to apply this info, seeing that the chord progression has a unique note helps to play melodically. For example, the 4 chord has a sharp 4, yet that note is in the major scale of the 1 chord. Yes? 4 chord has a sharp 4. I don't know what you mean by the example the 4 chord has a sharp 4. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because it doesn't. The 4 chord would just is just a 1, 3, 5. So I'm not sure what you mean by that, Russ. You're probably right, but I'd have to know specifically what you're saying. And I don't understand that question. I'm so sorry. John Johnson is saying, for example, if you were playing in the key of G major, then playing a lot of C, the 4th chords, you would not switch to C major scale and change the key scale right. Again, I don't understand that question. I'm sorry. We'd have to have a discussion on that. Is the blue note a different note in major? The blue note is used, is a different note in major? I'm not sure what you mean by that, friend. So if you look at the form, it's not any different. It's so if you learn the minor blues scale, it looks the same as the major blues scale. You're just playing it in a different place. See the relative major and minor. Once that makes sense, then the whole thing will make sense to you. Okay. Okay, almost at the end here. Oh, beautiful, David. David just got in yesterday. Veteran, beautiful. If you're a U.S. veteran, friends, or active duty, go to YourGuitarSage.com/veterans. I will give you the entire Unstoppable Guitar System for free for defending this great country of ours that is teetering right now, but I know a lot of folks, including myself, that are not going to stand by and just allow that to happen. Well, Eric, what's the difference between normal blues and modern blues? I don't know what that means. Normal blues and modern blues? I don't know. I've never heard that. I've never heard of modern blues. I don't know if I'd want to hear that. Is there even a difference? I don't know. I haven't heard that, friend. All right. Good. Do I need to hold the string to the frets to get them to ring right? Do I need to hold the, yeah, you have to have the string against the fret. Yes, you need to watch, you need to get in the Unstoppable Guitar System, friend, okay? You need to understand how to fret. On YouTube, just search YourGuitarSage fretting, okay? Okay, almost at the end here. It's been teetering for decades. It has been teetering for decades. You are correct. We're just now seeing it. We're just now seeing it. But it's been teetering for decades. You are correct, sir. All right, friends. That's it for today. Really quickly, get that PDF. Click the link that's below this video. That'll bring you to the page. It's going to help a ton with everything that we talked about today. You know, when you hear something audibly and then you can visually see it, that, like, just hearing it is one thing. When you can hear it and visually see it, that's a whole nother realm. If you can hear it, visually see it, and start applying it to the fretboard, now that's where the magic happens, and then you'll have those aha moments just like that. Then when you start integrating it into your everyday playing, that's when it becomes a part of you, and that's the difference between you and Hendrix, or you and Eric Clapton, or what have you, okay? Literally, where you are today and where you want to be is just a matter of that discipline and doing the things that's going to get you there. That PDF is going to help a lot. Take advantage of the Dominate the Fretboard course that I have for you, giving it to you for absolutely free today. You test drive the Unstoppable Guitar System. By the way, the link is below this video for that. If you test drive the Unstoppable Guitar System for $1, because it's the only way we can do it, it's the only way the website works, is it gives you access to the whole thing for $1. If you get out within 30 days, you never charge it again, and you get to keep the Dominate the Fretboard course, the entire course. Easily my most powerful course, because literally what took me decades to learn on the guitar will take you 1 hour, because I painstakingly created it with all sorts of diagrams and explanations for you to understand the fretboard in a way that you haven't before. If anybody's been in Dominate the Fretboard, if you know what I'm talking about, please put that in the chat right now so folks know I'm not playing around. Friends, I love you. Great questions today. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me over an hour today. Love you guys. Please thumbs up, share this video. Love you. I'm out of here.